Hi, my name is Peyton Brown, and I am here to talk about my meeting analysis assignment. During this presentation, I will be talking about the expectations versus the reality of the meetings, the effectiveness of 12-step programs, stigma and implicit bias, and solutions to reduce stigma and implicit bias. Introduction. For this assignment, I chose to go to an Alcoholic Anonymous and an Emotion Anonymous group meeting. The purpose of attending these sessions was to observe and learn the impact on people going through addiction or mental health problems. I was able to realize any implicit biases of my own and possible stigma against 12-step program participants. I learned a lot during this experience, and I will be sharing my new knowledge in this presentation. For the Alcoholic Anonymous meeting, this was my first meeting I attended. The purpose of this meeting is to provide a safe space filled with support and love to individuals struggling with alcohol addiction. I really do feel like this environment was a safe and supportive environment for all of the participants of this meeting. They were really kind and loving towards one another and celebrated milestones during the recovery and were really kind to both me and my friend that went to the meeting. So I thought that that was really great. The meeting format, this was an open meeting and everyone was able to speak and share their personal experiences with alcoholic addiction, and everybody was so kind and would listen openly and not judge anybody speaking. The demographics of this meeting, there was a range of people ages 22 to late 70s. There were 5 men and 2 women at this meeting, and there was a mix of races. There was mostly Caucasian, but there were 2 people of other races as well. Usually they said that these meetings consist about 15 people, and that this was one of the smallest meetings that they've had, because a lot of people couldn't show up. So usually there are more people, but I think that this meeting was a really great amount of people and for us to listen to and observe. The location and date. The Hope Group meetings are every Tuesday at the Hope Community Church in Andover, and they start at 7. They lasted about an hour and a half. People were there early and talking, and they were even there after. They had a celebration going on for one of the participants, so we didn't stay the whole time because it was kind of vulnerable, and I wanted them all to be able to celebrate his 1 year of being sober. So I thought that was really special. Key themes. They start off by reading the 12 steps, and they also pray, and then they lead into an open discussion where each individual shares their personal experiences, and they finally close with a prayer. I think it was really great. Each individual was allowed to speak openly and for as long as they wanted without judgment. Um, it was really a safe space for them to share their addiction and what they were going through. The second meeting I attended was Emotions Anonymous. I didn't really know anything about this program before when I was searching through online. It just kind of popped up out of nowhere, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to this. So I was really excited about attending this meeting. The purpose of this meeting is to provide a safe space for individuals to share their personal mental health emotions and to work on their emotional well-being. And this was an open meeting where individuals shared their personal experiences with their emotions. Each individual was allowed to share for about 5 minutes to try and just keep it short so they could get through. And some people went over their 5 minutes and some people didn't. They weren't upset if they did. I thought it was really funny that one of the rules that the leader added was that they're only they're not allowed to interrupt or any advice for the patients. So the patient or the participants were really able to just speak their mind and talk about what they were going through. And the leaders, they would spray each other with water bottles, like the spray bottles, if they did those things. So I thought it was really funny that they really did keep each other accountable about not speaking during anybody else's turn. So, demographics. There were people ages 40 to 60 participating in this meeting. It consisted of 3 males and 5 females, and all participants were Caucasian. They told me that there are usually more participants, about maybe 8 people. And so we ended up going to a meeting that was a little bit smaller and people couldn't really attend. I thought it was really cool because they were all really close together with each other. They all went to potluck after the meeting, and I thought that that was really special. Um, Location and date. This meeting is held every first and third Sunday of the month. It's held at the Community of Christ Webb Road Congregation, and they start at 10. These meetings also last about an hour and a half. I think we ended up going over an hour, closer to an hour and a half, because everybody was talking about what they learned during the meeting. So, key themes. This is a 12-step program that focuses on the themes of admitting powerlessness over their emotions and learning how to cope and learn from their emotions. After discussing the 12 steps, they read a discussion topic, and then they broke into an open discussion where everyone takes turns talking about what the topic of the day means to them. The topic that we talked about when we were there was friendship, and do you have close friends that will be there for you during a really hard time, like if you go to prison or something like that. So I thought that that was really interesting, and I really connected with that a lot. And I wasn't expecting to connect with all the people there. Like, I really enjoyed going to this because they were able to share other things, and I got to really learn and connect with a lot of people, and I wasn't expecting that. So my expectations versus reality. Expectations. Before attending this meeting, my expectations were a group of people sitting in a circle around a room sharing their experiences, individuals being reserved or just to themselves, the vibe to feel sad or depressed, all individuals to be middle-aged, and it be more of a lecture based and no presence of spirituality. I really did think that it was going to be like one of those, like that what you see on the movies where you have everybody sitting around in a circle and like kind of just reserved to themselves. My emotions before the meeting were I was feeling really anxious before going in. I was so nervous, I was shaky because I felt like the participants would be angry that I was there or that I was intruding on their personal space because these are really vulnerable meetings. So the reality, after attending this meeting, I realized that most individuals are comfortable with being vulnerable and some even joke about it. I remember when I walked into the AA meeting, one of the guys was like, "Oh yeah, you're not an alcoholic. You don't have that blank stare." And I thought it was really funny because he was just messing with us about being there and that they do joke about their addiction. They want us to be aware of these things because there are so many individuals that struggle with the topics they were discussing. They were all really excited that we were there and showing interest in what they were going through. It is a safe and encouraging space where everyone is welcome, even those without an addiction, especially with AA. They talked about how one of the guys there was there for a DUI, and he was able to realize that he's not addicted to alcohol. And I think that it's a great way to place to for you to realize that. And I think it's great that it's not only a place where you can figure out and work through your addiction, but also figure out if you have an addiction. Um, Spirituality is very involved in the process. In fact, group leaders heavily encourage participants to find a higher power to confide in, like God. The leader did actually say that he really thinks that people should find some higher power to confide in, like his was with God. And he stated that if he didn't have God or higher power, he wouldn't have been able to work through his addiction. So I think that that was really surprising to me. My emotions after the meeting were I felt like I learned a lot about the meeting and the participants. I learned a lot from their experiences and what they were sharing. I was really emotional when I left and almost started crying after both meetings because I thought it was so special and beautiful that a group of people got to get together and just share their opinions open without any judgment. Um, I felt included and open-minded at the end of the meetings, and I think that these meetings really benefit each and every individual that they attend. I think that these meetings are really important for people to find, and they even help people who don't have an addiction, or they just let people get in there and um get everything out. So effectiveness of the meetings. I think that these meetings are very effective for participants. During the AA meeting I attended, one individual said, "I always come here feeling like I want a drink, and I always leave not wanting one." And he really felt like these meetings were the only way he is able to get through his addiction. He also described the group as a team of people who work together to overcome their addiction or help others realize they don't have one. Research shows that 12-step programs like AA and EA can be effective for promoting long-term abstinence and improving quality of life for individuals struggling with substance abuse and addiction. Donovan states that active participation in 12-step programs is associated with improved substance use and psychosocial outcomes, including increased abstinence rates and enhanced psychosocial functioning. Another article by Sarah Zamore showed that regularly attending 12-step programs showed a positive outcome with remaining abstinent over a long period of time. Leaders and participants were able to build relationships by creating a safe space, building trust, and actively listening while others were speaking. For a safe space, meeting leaders were able to create a safe space for the participants by creating a judgment-free zone where each individual could talk openly about their experience. Participants were able to do this as well. They just remained quiet, non-judgmental, and really helped one another through their thoughts and allowed others to talk out their thoughts. Building relationships, leaders built relationships with their participants by remaining judgment free and really caring about each person's feelings, thoughts, and experiences during the open discussion. The leaders really did listen and offered advice if needed and gave other resources to individuals if they needed other resources and if the AA meetings weren't enough. So I thought that was really great. By actively listening, each patient remained engaged and quiet while others were talking. They gave advice only if it was asked or needed, especially during AA. I feel like more advice was given during AA meetings. One way this was done was with the spray bottle during EA. Leaders would made a rule that if you talk out of turn, interrupt, or offer unwanted advice, that you would get sprayed by the bottle. So I thought that that was really funny, and it happened a few times during my EA meeting. So stigma and implicit bias. What is stigma? Stigma is defined as negative perceptions and stereotypes towards a specific group in society by the majority population. What is implicit bias? Implicit bias is attitude or internalized stereotypes that unconsciously affect our perceptions, actions, and decisions. Stigma within the community. Stigma against addiction can make it hard for individuals to seek help for their health care provider or community resources like 12-step programs. Stigma can also make it difficult for individuals with substance abuse to find employment, housing, and even social relationships. The individuals affected by stigma can start to feel ashamed, isolated, or even angry. These feelings can probably lead to more suicidal behaviors because they can't find these programs or places to let out all their bottled up emotions and feelings, or even if they continue with their alcohol addiction, it can lead to them getting hurt or hurting somebody else. And if they do hurt somebody else, that can really affect their mental health as well. So I think that stigma it can be really dangerous for individuals going through addiction or even emotional mental health problems. And it's important that we as a society figure out a way to reduce stigma against 12-step programs and participants. So my implicit biases, some implicit biases I had before going to the AA meeting was that I expected everyone to be at least 40 years old and male. I even remember mentioning to my friends something about how all of them would be a lot older. When I walked in, there were two participants that were close to my age. I was really surprised by this, and I didn't realize I had this mindset until I went in. I think it's because a lot of the people I know in my life that I think benefit from Alcohol Anonymous or interventions are 40-year-old males, or at least 40 years old. So I think that's where my implicit bias comes from that. And for the EA meetings, I had the complete opposite mindset. Before walking in, I was expecting younger people to be at this meeting, but most of the participants were older than 40. I think especially with the Gen Z generation, older people are seen to not care as much about their mental health, whereas my generation really focuses on mental health and how important it is. I think because of that mindset, I was expecting younger people to be in attendance, especially now because Gen Z generation really focuses on mental health and bettering your mental health and taking days to yourself so you aren't constantly overwhelmed and anxious all the time. So I think that's why I've expected more people my age to be in these meetings. So solutions. My first solution is increasing accessibility to AA and EA meetings. It was really hard for me to find these meetings. A lot of them you had to pay for, or they were closed meetings you couldn't attend. So I think making these more accessible and normalized for people really help. Promote education and awareness. We as nurses have to educate, and I think it helps people so much with education, and making people more aware of these problems can really help brings attention to it so people don't find it so weird. So I think promoting education and awareness of these programs will really help and normalize participation in these meetings. I think that this activity really did something like that, and I think maybe if we even made this an activity in psychology classes, or like, because everybody has to take a psychology class eventually in something. So I think making this a assignment in psychology classes would really help, even because it can help in every aspect of every business, everything. So out of 30 people that are here today, probably 3 of you are going to maybe stay sober. During my meeting, I had one of the participants said that they went to a meeting, their first meeting, and the leader walked in, looked at everybody, walked out, and then came in again and said this to him. And he said that that was really the only reason he tried to remain sober, and it motivated him to be one of those 3 people. And I wanted to look and see if this was actually a valid statistic. And I found that 22% of people who stay active in 12-step programs remain sober for 20+ years. And I think that this was a really interesting thing to learn and an interesting thing to hear somebody say during the meeting. In conclusion, understanding your implicit biases and stigma within the community can help reduce the stigma patients participating with 12 steps programs face. I think that this assignment was a great way for me to realize my own implicit biases and learn from them. Understanding how EA and AA meetings work and what they do for participants will help me with my career in the future. Being able to understand why patients need these meetings and how they benefit from them will really help me in the future, being able to either offer meetings, or even I found a website that I can offer to patients if they need it, especially with AA. And being able to meet with a group of people that understand what you are going through on a deeper level can help the individual with their mental health later on. Thank you very much for listening and for your time. I really enjoyed this meeting, and I learned a lot during this experience that I'm going to be able to use during my clinical experience and my future job. And these are my resources.